to fix your drinking and drug problem, and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to A Common Thread. I am Sonia V.
I'm Iguaran.
The wins, the losses, and the
Curveballs.
The curveballs. There's one of our curveballs right there. You guys didn't know, but last week when, bless her heart, she's such a good sport. We came last week, and of course we didn't say it, but she came in a lot of pain with her foot. She was holding onto my shoulder walking in, and then walked out and I picked her up and drove her back home. She lives not far. And now she's got like that very attractive boot on her foot. And for 2 weeks.
I might get my girl to bling it out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a little overkill to do that, but praising God in all things, because I guess he was just saying you need to slow up, slow your roll.
Slow down, Eva. No more Iron Mans for the time being.
We're just taking it easy.
She's a beast.
Just taking it easy.
Yeah, but now the beast has to rest.
Everybody, has their time. So this is a
Yeah.
season of rest, and I am thankful for it. I'm just, gonna just
Embrace it.
embrace this boot.
Embrace the boot. That's a saying. That should be a shirt. Anyway, welcome. So Eva and I thought, well, Thanksgiving's around the corner next week. And we thought, let's do a podcast on Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving, the holiday, and also Thanksgiving, like to give thanks, because that's why we celebrate Thanksgiving. So, traditions. Let's start with just talking about, all of you out there. We'd love to hear from you and some traditions that you have in your family growing up, or some new traditions that you've developed for your family, like your husband, spouse, kids, grandkids, etc.
And if you wouldn't mind sharing Granny's favorite recipe,
Yeah,
just put that below, put that in the comments. Tell us where we can
find a recipe.
find a recipe that is to die for.
Yes. Ooh, I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's always been my favorite holiday, even more than Christmas. Even as a kid, I remember just depending on the year. Sometimes it was just 10 of us. Sometimes it was 20 of us. It just depended, depending if some aunties and uncles came over or some cousins. But it was just fun and to stuff your face. So I'm Italian. So, oh, well, I'm going to use this word so that way for those that are watching, you may know or not know. So I use the word stuffing interchangeably. I know that I don't know if it's a Southern thing, so correct me if I'm wrong, or just a Texas thing, using the word dressing and stuffing. So I know stuffing is when it's in the bird, and then dressing is like if you just serve it like in a pan and you bake it. But I use that interchangeably, so I use that for both. Anyway, so traditionally as Italians, we make our stuffing a little bit different, although it has some similar ingredients, like we put celery, we put onions, we do black olives. Well, I know black olives is one of those things that olives are like, some people either love them or you don't, but we put black olives in ours. Mushrooms, breading, of course, not cornbread, but I usually I'll take bread that's like kind of stale, like old, and then cut it up. And then, or if I don't have that, I'll just cut up some bread, season it up, put olive oil, bake it in the oven, and then use that as the breading. And then I'll saute some usually like ground turkey and season that up, throw it all together. And then I'll put like an egg in there to kind of bind everything together. Let's, salt and pepper and garlic powder and onion powder and all that.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's so yummy.
I love stuffing. That's, I think, probably my favorite part.
I can be without turkey. If the stuffing's there, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll eat turkey. I'm not crazy about it, but I'll eat it. But man, the stuffing's just so good. Oh, I'm getting so hungry. Anyway, what about you?
So I make a cranberry sauce from scratch. I don't really believe in buying the can and slicing the cranberry in that way. So it's a whole 2-day process. I like to start with my orange and my cranberries and blend that all up with some sugar and leave that in the refrigerator for at least 24 hours. Get it nice, and that sugar's got to really get into those cranberries. And then all the other ingredients go in: chopped Granny Smith apple, pecans.
Yeah.
And then you got to top it off with some kind of jello. Usually I use a raspberry jello. And that kind of just holds it all together. And that is my favorite. And it's really my husband's favorite. And he would not be happy if that was not on the table. He likes to eat that if there's leftovers, like a few days after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's basically dessert.
Right.
So we can't do without the.
That sounds so good.
I think it's Swirly. If you know Swirly, if you ever met him, shout out to him. I think it's called like Swirly's cranberry sauce, something like that.
Yum. Oh,
my good friend Kathy Duran gave me that recipe.
sounds delicious. Oh, I make I make my fresh too. I just the nothing to down canned cranberries, but I just need to make mine fresh. And another thing we eat chestnuts. So I'll go,
Oh,
oh,
you're speaking my language.
chestnuts. So between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, well, like they're expensive, really expensive. But I figured I justify it because I only buy it for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I won't buy it like continually throughout the holiday, but I'll eat it on those 2 days.
I saw some
So
today at Trader
good.
Joe's in a little package.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Mhm.
work down the street from there, so I'll have
Mhm.
to go take a look. But yeah, ooh, so good. So those are some our favorites. What are your favorites? And I'm trying to think of like any kind of memory, particular memory. I think the one thing that I remember is just about family and just being around the table. We would sit around the table for hours. And then there would be when we got a little older, like teenagers, like early 20s, then we'd go to some once in a while we'd go to a movie like after dinner, like around 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or something. Because we'd eat usually around 2 or 3, and then maybe around 7, even 8, we would go to a movie. Or if not, we would just I'm gonna date myself. We would go to Blockbuster Video.
What? What's
What?
that?
What's that? For you
Gen Z.
for you youngins, it was a place where we went to get it was a whole experience. And we would go there and get videos,
Oh yeah.
and they would have walls and walls of videos, and it was pretty big. And I remember going there. We'd spend like a good hour there, just choosing movies, getting popcorn, getting all kinds of milk duds and whatever other snacks you wanted to eat. And then we'd just go home and just chill and watch a movie after we had dinner. And then you'd have seconds, like
Exactly.
around 8, 9 o'clock.
And you've got to try all the pies.
Oh
Like, I
gosh,
mean, there's
yes.
pecan pie. You know what's interesting is I believe people either like the pumpkin
Or sweet potato.
or sweet potato. So which one do you really?
I like both. I've made both the last couple of years.
Mhm.
I usually traditionally have made pumpkin pie in my adult years, but the last couple of years I've done both, and I'll make an apple crisp. Oh, so
Mm.
good with vanilla ice cream, like
Mhm.
warm.
Mhm.
Okay, I need to Thanksgiving needs to come because
This
I'm
is
getting hungry.
this is bad for us.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to eat a whole lot between now and then. I'm just eating just to survive.
Maybe just a taste and a taste and a taste and a few more
Yeah.
tastes. If I can just have a bite of each pie. I
Oh,
don't need the whole slice, but I do need to try each one.
so good, so good. Well, we wanted to talk about Thanksgiving because it's just a good, time of the year to kind of remember uh, the things to be grateful for, and family and friends, and just so all the blessings that we have. And so we thought, why not do a podcast on Thanksgiving? I know maybe it's a little cliche because probably a lot of people might do that, but we thought, why not? Let's just roll with the punches and do that. So we thought the power of Thanksgiving or gratitude on mental health. Um, so even when you think about Thanksgiving or gratitude, what is the opposite of that for you? Because I already have my ideas of what that is, but what's the opposite of that for you? Like when you think about Thanksgiving.
Opposite. I would just like when you feel now I can't think of the word. When it's just owed to you, maybe, or
Oh, entitlement.
entitlement.
Okay, yes, that's a good word too. That wasn't the one I was thinking of, but that actually is a very good word for gratitude.
Maybe taking things for granted.
Taking things for granted. Mine was bitterness.
Bitterness, yes.
Because I thought, well, if when we're thankful, we don't have time to dwell on the what ifs, the disappointments. And again, this is not to negate that, right? We're not saying, oh, don't ever think about, or, suck it up, buttercup kind of thing. We're just talking about Thanksgiving in that respect. We understand that. I know I have lots of regrets and disappointments in my life. I'm sure Eva does too. And so we understand that that's a human experience. But And, sometimes we have those valley moments that we'll feel that, but if we stay down in that valley for too long, then that's when bitterness kinda can fester. And I remember, like, shortly after, like, my son passed and my husband passed, that was my greatest fear, that I would dwell on the what ifs, uh, and disappointments and the regrets of that, and then I would be seeped into that hole of or rabbit hole of bitterness, and that was scary to me. So, wanted to do a little research on it because I'm, obviously, like, I work with I'm a chaplain, so I work in hospice, and so there's something that I'm learning as I work this job that I have, and, um, so it says that the Thanksgiving reduces anxiety and depression and improves resilience and overall happiness. Why do you think that?
Yes, that's one of the things that I looked at is the stronger resilience. Practicing gratitude can improve your emotional regulation, increase resilience when facing difficult situations.
Yeah,
So instead of, like you said, seeping into that bitterness, then coming out strong and resilient.
yeah. It says that, here, scientific insight, I have some references here. It says gratitude activates brain regions linked to reward and emotional regulation, Emmons and McCullen, 2003. And then, Harvard research shows gratitude improves sleep, lowers stress, and enhances emotional health. Harvard Health Publishing 2021. So there's a lot of benefits in Thanksgiving. I try at least not try. I actually do every day in my prayer in the evening with my son, to like, hey, let's think of one thing, at least one thing today that we're grateful for. And he'll say whatever that is. I passed my test today, or I got home safely, because a lot of people don't get home safe, whatever that is. It's like nothing is minor enough. Nothing's minor. Everything, all those are blessings, right? Like, I'm grateful that we have a roof over our head. We're grateful that whatever the thing is, it just might be a small thing, but
So daily practicing thankfulness or
yeah.
gratitude.
Yeah, so in our prayers, that's the one thing that I told my son, I'm like, let's, like, in our prayer itself, say, yeah, thank you, Lord, for 3 things. I mean, we could say one thing, but I usually try to with him. He's older
Mhm.
now, so we do 3. But initially we started with 1. But, if you do 1 a day, that's 30 in a month, 31. So, but it's really important, and we don't have to wait for Thanksgiving, right, Eva, to do that. Although it's nice to do it. I usually like what I like to do with Thanksgiving, another tradition that I kind of just started the last few years. We'll get like a chocolate, maybe those chocolates that look like, turkeys or whatever. And then we pass it around. Someone like we pass a box around with them. And if you grab a chocolate, then you have to say something that you're grateful for. And I like that. I think it's a nice tradition to have. Even if you don't do it, something you do every day. But I mean, it's not just about eating. I mean, is the food is a blessing, but it's not just about the food. It's about, you know, being grateful and people just getting together, family, friends getting together. And if you know anybody that I know, I always try to, I'm the type of person is I don't like people feeling alone on holidays. Makes me feel a certain way, like sad and so I like to invite people if I'm able to, which I usually do, but I'm not having Thanksgiving at my house this year. I'm going to a friend's house, and she's making most of the food, but I'll make apple crisp. I might make a pumpkin pie and a sweet potato pie. I might do all 3. That's
Mm.
really ambitious. Oh, I forgot. There's another veggie that I'll just interrupt for just a moment. There's another veggie that as Italians we eat called broccoli rape, right? So broccoli, like broccoli, and they're like little florets. They're like a deep green, little small florets, not like the broccoli itself. And then they have like leaves. Oh, It's so good.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
So you can find it. You can't find it everywhere. Like I
So
know.
it's not a Brussels sprout.
No. Oh no. No. It's kind of like a combination of like if you were to like put broccoli and collard greens together, it's like that. So it has like a taste of like a collard green, but it has the florets, but smaller, kind of like broccoli.
Okay.
Oh, and then so you steam it and then you saute it
And
in
you
like
can find this in any store?
no, you can't. So I
Mm.
think HEB and Burleson, I haven't looked there in a while, but they usually sometimes carry it there. I know Central Market carries it.
Oh, okay. We'll just
I
have
know
to go to
Central Market carries it. All shout out to Central Market. I know they have it because that's what I usually get that, and I get the chestnuts there. But now
Mhm.
that you said Trader Joe's, maybe it's a little less money. I don't know because they sell it like kind of loose there, and you
Mhm.
kind of it's expensive. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. But I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my culture because it's nice. Like this is a common thread, right? So this
Mhm.
is like all cultures. Like I'm Italian. I come from New York originally, so we have some of the things we make might be traditional to like everyone, but then there's other things like my stuffing looks a little different than the traditional, maybe with cornbread and all that. It's not like a sweet one. It's more savory and salty, right? But that's what this is about to bring us together, right? Like that common thread. So, what are you grateful for, Eva?
Just before we get into that, before I tell you, just on the chestnut, I lived in Romania 2 years,
Okay.
and the street vendors would roast them on the
Mm.
open fire, roast them, and then put them in a little cone, newspaper
Oh,
cone.
yum.
Wow. That's where I was like, "Now I get the whole chestnuts roasting on an open fire song." I
Mhm.
never got it. Never understood that.
Now you get it.
Yes, they're so good.
Yeah, in New York, like, during, like, this time of the year between now and, like well, really pretty much, like, once it gets cold. It's not just a Christmas thing. They do it, like, November probably to, like, maybe February. And, like, honey roasted peanuts, they'll do the chestnuts that are roasted, they'll give them to you, like, in a little paper bag. Oh my and just, like, you're walking around the city, Central Park or Rockefeller Center, and you're just eating them. It's just such an experience. It's just chestnuts. You don't think or
Mhm.
honey
They're so
roasted
good.
peanuts, but it's so good.
And then before I forget, you mentioned I'll get back to what I'm thankful for. I have a list. But you mentioned sleep.
Oh, yeah. Improved sleep.
Mhm. It says grateful individuals tend to fall asleep faster
Mhm.
and experience better quality of sleep, and they feel less fatigued during the day.
Mm.
So that's a good thing. If you're struggling with sleep, maybe practice gratitude.
And lower stress. So I guess if you're dwelling in the valley of disappointment and regret all the time, then that can cause stress, anxiety, more anxiety. Um, and then says, and then enhances emotional health. So I think, you have better coping skills. I
Mhm.
think it improves coping skills when you focus on gratitude. So I think that's I think that we need to do more. I think I can do it more, and I have to remind myself to as I go through my day. Sometimes I'm sitting in the car and I'll be like, I'm grateful. And I drive a lot for my job, so I'm grateful when I get home safe because I didn't get into an accident. So,
So I have a long list of things that I'm grateful for, but I have this book in my bookshelf, and I've had it for a long time.
okay.
And every once in a while, I will get it out. Sometimes it goes years before I get it out. And I've tried to write some thought or something that happened that I'm grateful for in this book, and it's nice to go back and look, even something maybe it's not complex but it's still just like a thought of what you're grateful for. And I
Mm.
usually when it's a bigger thing I like or it feels like something that I need to remember, I like to sit down. But if I sat down every day or even monthly, I'm sure it would just be jam packed. But it's because I don't make the practice of actually getting that book out as often as I need to sit down and write.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I do need to get it out this week just so I don't forget this. But I am grateful for the best neighbor God could have ever given me.
Hmm.
She, since we moved there, we've been there at least 10, 11 years, maybe even going on 12, in this one house, and she's been there the whole time. But we got to know each other, I think, over, I believe I went over to her house and asked her if she had an egg I could borrow. I think that's how the relationship got started. But she's had to come and borrow things from me, and then it was just like kind of, and then, pretty soon I'm in her house. She comes over to my house. Like, we visit with each other.
Is that the lady that lives across the street?
Mm-hmm.
I think I went to her house once.
Really?
Yeah, she's nice. I like her.
She's a sweet lady.
Yeah.
I have lots of great neighbors, but Sylvia's my favorite neighbor, and she's just beautiful. Recently, I went over there, and she helped me sew a small little label on a little crocheted blanket that I made for my granddaughter. So this is how much I crochet, like the blankets like this big. But I'm not good at sewing. It's embarrassing. Anyway, she helped me sew on this label, and it's so cute. It says like, from Grandma with love. But she helped me do that. So she helps me with little projects. She's helped me sew on patches, because I love patches, and I put them everywhere. I put them on my jacket. I put them on my bags, patches everywhere. But she has just been such a blessing. And I'm trying to think. Oh, for whenever I had my surgery, she came over with a basket of, like, I don't know, maybe it was a dozen muffins and like a cute little candle. It was just so sweet. Like, she is such a blessing. The last thing she did, that was, all these things I'm saying just because, like, recently she's just been over the top amazing. I was coming from Fort Worth, and I needed someone to sit with Audrey until I got back, and she came over. She just dropped everything and went over for about 20 minutes till I pulled in the driveway. So I was like, you don't have to stay, but, like, can you just go? Because she was getting dropped off from school, and I wasn't going to be there right at the same time when she was, like, somebody was dropping her off. So she was like, oh, sure, I'll walk over, I'll make sure. And then when I got home, she was there sitting with her on the couch. And I was like,
oh,
thank you, Jesus.
So sweet.
Like, she didn't have to, she probably stayed 15, 20 minutes sitting with her.
That was nice.
Yeah.
It's definitely,
there's like,
something to
I
be
could
grateful
go,
for.
like, I could take the next, we got 3 minutes for this first half, but there's just so many things to be grateful for, right? But just off the top of my head, I'm just thinking of this neighbor. It's good to have at least one good neighbor.
Yeah, I have a lot of all my neighbors are the ones that I know. I mean, they're all good in the sense of, but I mean, I have 1, 2, well, 3. One is, I think they're in the process of moving, but they've been our neighbor. We've been in that house since 2014, so it's been 11 years. They're in the process of moving, but they've been awesome. And then we have a lady across the street, behind us, and then like behind us, kind of diagonal, and then our neighbors to our, like, if you're facing the street, the neighbors to our left, because to our right, well, we have like our our property there, so those neighbors are kind of far, so we don't know them. But so I'm grateful for them. They've been we help each other out when we can, and that's a good thing. And so I'm grateful for this lady right here. I'm grateful for her and her friendship, and our shenanigans of doing a podcast. We've been wanting to do it for years, and then finally we got to start it, and then it kind of, we had like these ups and downs, and now when I saw today when we were going to post it on Facebook, it said episode 18. I thought, what? I thought, wow. So that's a blessing that we can be able to do that.
That's a lot of talking.
Yeah, it's a lot of talking. Except there are 30,000 words, because they say women have to talk 30,000 words. I probably talk a little bit more than on Wednesdays because of this. But yeah, grateful for family, of course, and family near and family far. And I'm grateful for everyone and their support, their love, and just, times when they reach out and send a text or whatever it is, or just your presence, just knowing that you're there is helpful and amazing, and knowing that we can pick up the phone. But I know that there's a lot of people that I know that the holidays are kind of hard. So want to acknowledge that as well, because I know that, you may have lost someone this year, and, Thanksgiving may not feel the same. And Christmas is around the corner, and any, Hanukkah and other holidays um, that come during this time of the year. I know that they're not easy, and, our prayers go out to you, and, praying that you can have the strength to get through the season. And oh my gosh, we lost track of time.
We want you to come
We
back
want you to come back. Sorry
for the
about that.
second half
See you in the second half.
and bring your memories.
And bring your memories.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Welcome back to A Common Thread. NTX Radio proudly serves all of North Texas and can be heard all over the world on TuneIn Radio Network and on the NTX Radio app, available on Android and Apple CarPlay, or just ask Alexa to play NTX Radio. Check out our lineup and more at ntxradio.com. We thank our valued sponsors in helping us amplify the voices of North Texas communities and businesses. So, protect your family with a will or trust. Connect with Todd Hurd and Associates, attorneys at law, for all your civil law needs at texasattorneylaw.com. Processing credit cards? Join the Swipe Nation today and save on processing fees and at swipenationusa.com. Locally owned and operated and will beat any rates. Got sleeves? Dress your arms and more at the Tiffy.com for women's accessories and more, made in the USA. And it's time to take your business to the next level. Hosting a radio show and podcast is a powerful way to connect with a wider audience, build brand awareness, and drive sales. Let's discuss your business goals and how a custom show can help you achieve them. Email Tiffany at t.hurd@ntxradio.com to get amplified. All right. So we left off with, remembering those that have lost loved ones. And I know this time of the year may not feel like anything you want to, how can I give thanks when I lost my loved one, or whatever the grief is? Maybe not be losing someone to death, but it could be something else, a divorce or another thing that has happened in your life this year. And so we want to acknowledge you. I think, trying to have as much support as possible. I know sometimes you want to just feel by yourself. You want to be by yourself, and that's okay if you need some of that time, but also don't isolate yourself. Reach out to maybe a couple of people that you can feel like you can trust, that you can just maybe that are comfortable being in that pain with you, like sitting there with you and being present. And so we want to acknowledge you. We're praying for you, and God will get you through this. It doesn't seem like it at the moment, but He will. And we wanted to talk about some Bible verses because the Bible does talk about Thanksgiving. Just to touch on a few, we're not going to go. There's a ton of them in the Bible. 1 Thessalonians 5:18, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And then Philippians 4:6-7. This is just a kind of snippet. Gratitude brings peace that surpasses understanding, that surpasses all understanding. Psalm 104, I like this one. Enter his gates in with thanksgiving.
Into his courts with praise.
Into his courts with praise. We're gonna have some church in here. And then Colossians 3:15-17. This is just a snippet. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts and be thankful. Of course, like I said, there's a ton of Bible verses on Thanksgiving, but that's just a few. The first one kind of ties into like what we were saying about, when you lose a loved one or something happens in your life. It says, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And I remember like when I first read that verse after I had, my losses, and I thought, how can I possibly give thanks for this? So I empathize with those that have gone through something this year, and I know that in that moment, man, I was like, I am not grateful for losing my son. I'm not grateful for losing my husband. Why would I be grateful for that? But
And I guess they say like reframing, which what happened. So like, how do you reframe that? But I guess it's being thankful for something that happened that wouldn't have happened I don't know.
Well,
because like I said, you can't reframe that as in like it happened, right? So
well, I'm not grateful for, in the sense of losing them, right? You're not grateful for that because that's not a good thing, right? So anything that anyone's going through, please don't use that verse on people because that would sound terrible. I know that God has worked out good in my life because of it, but he didn't do it. He didn't allow it because of that, right? I think God just has a way of doing that. He's a creator and he's a redeemer. So he has a way of just, like the devil has a plan, but God has a greater plan, right? And then God says, okay, you meant this for evil to the devil. Now I'm going to turn it into something good. And so the circumstances are not good. But what has happened, at least in my case, there has been lots of blessings because of it. Now, if I could have them back, I would, but that's not an option. So I can't make them come back. Only God can resurrect them. And so anyway, I like that verse, but we, just be careful not to use that verse with someone that is going through something. Yeah, especially someone who's recently gone through something, because that is not what we want to say to them, because that would sound very insensitive. But it's just to kind of encourage us to kind of look at our life, and even in that, for me, even in all of that though, not right away, but like even like a month later or so, I would sit and think, okay, well, I'm grateful for, and I would name one thing, even if it was like a month later. Maybe in that month I didn't feel like I wanted to give thanks for anything, but like a month or so later, I was like, oh, I'm thankful for whatever that was, at that moment. So, Paul, the Thessalonians, Philippians, Colossians, Paul has written most of the New Testament, and I like the historical background, and because Paul was imprisoned, he was also on house arrest, And so I was kind of interested to know like when that happened. So it says in the context of First Thessalonians, which is the one we just read, um, written around AD 50-51 during Paul's second missionary journey while in Corinth. And then Paul wrote to encourage believers facing persecution and to remind them to remain thankful in all circumstances. Yeah, that's tough though. Because like in the moment, it's hard to see. Look, even Jesus was hanging on the cross, and my God, why has that forsaken me? Because it was hard for Jesus. Because you have to remember, Jesus was 100% God, but was also 100% human, and the human side is hard to see beyond the grave or beyond the experience. And I remember like this lady, there's this group that meets at Cook Children's Medical Center. I don't know if they still meet, but they were meeting at that time like once a month. And crazy that about a week after my son passed, I went there. I don't know. Well, I went. A lot of it was because I know a lot of those ladies couldn't come to the celebration of life. They couldn't come because their kids were still going through chemo and treatment. And so I went. And I remember, like, after the group was over, after we cried and the ladies came up to me and we sat and shared whatever, then one of the ladies who created the group, her daughter had died, like, about 5 years before that, and I saw her laughing and happy, and I thought, I was in such a slump. I was in such a dark, dark like, I have never felt that dark before, and I went up to her and we started talking, and I said, "Does it get any easier?" And she looked at me, she goes, "It doesn't get easier, it just gets less hard." And I thought, "Wow." That was, like, powerful. It gets less hard. So, it, like, because when you say, like, the easy part just kinda minimizes the pain, but when you say it gets less hard, it's still hard, just not as hard, right? But I thought, "Man, she 5 years later, and she's able to laugh, she's able to, like, smile again." I thought, "Will I ever feel that again?" Because I felt, like, numb, like I couldn't feel anything. So I don't know how long it took her to get to that point, right? But she was there, and this was 5 years later, and she was able to, at that point, at least laugh sometimes, right? Even though I'm sure she still felt the loss of her daughter. Um, then in, so then in the, one of the epistles later during Paul's house arrest in Rome, AD 60 to 62, Paul wrote Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemon, letters overflowing with thanksgiving despite hardship. Like, so we just read, the one in Philippians, gratitude brings peace that surpasses understanding. So he wrote that while he was on house arrest. That's amazing to me. And he couldn't leave his home. And so the lesson is gratitude is not dependent on circumstances. Paul modeled thanksgiving even in suffering. So I don't know how it happens. I don't think it doesn't happen overnight. It could, I guess, but it doesn't usually happen overnight. I think it's a process when you're going through something. And then at some point you're grateful for whatever that, not for the bad circumstances, but grateful for the memories you have with, if it was someone that you lost, or grateful for, whatever the experience is, you can find something to be grateful for, even if it wasn't that experience, but something else. So,
So it's being thankful even in those moments. It says, in Philippians, it talks about just let your request be known. You can still ask for something, but we're still thankful.
Yeah.
Like whatever happens, right? Because he went through so many trials, he went through so many things, but he was still trying to find Thanksgiving or something to be thankful for, something to be grateful for, even though he was sitting there in prison.
And he got beheaded at the end of his life because he was a Roman citizen, although he was Jewish by culture and by ethnicity, but his nationality, I guess you would call it, because he was Roman citizen. So Roman citizens were not crucified; they were beheaded. So at some point he was beheaded. And I don't know, it doesn't say what he said at that moment, but I don't even know if the Bible actually says that. I think it's a historical, it might say it, but forgive me because even though I'm a chaplain, I don't always remember all the details. And I think we're always learning, right? So sometimes I forget those details, but I know it's more of a historical event that's talked about that he was beheaded. And, but even in that, I don't know what he said at that moment, right? He could have praised God at that moment. I don't know. Even Stephen.
Well, he could have been comforting those around him because most likely he wasn't by himself in the beheading.
Oh, that's true.
Sometimes there's a lineup. Usually
Oh, that's true.
when tyrants go off on people, it's usually not just one person that they're going to take out.
That's
But
true.
I'm thinking of you in your line of work. 2 Corinthians 1:4 says, who comforteth us in all our tribulation, that we would be able to comfort those which are in any. So
Yeah, I love that verse. That's my verse.
so how do you, if you haven't experienced that deep pain, it would be hard to try to comfort those who are in the middle of that.
I mean,
in the tribulation. I mean, I'm just saying, whether it's sitting in silence.
I think it's definitely, I'm a talker for sure, but I have learned to be comfortable with silence. And I think sometimes we fill the void because it feels uncomfortable. It's like, when you're on the phone with someone and then if you don't speak for like 20 seconds, it's like beep, it's uncomfortable. And then we want to, hello, are you there? And so, but yeah, I'm a talker, but I've learned to now to learn how to just be present and not try to fix people's problems, not try to fix them in their grief, just let them, kind of hash it out within themselves with God and being okay with them hashing it out with God.
In tribulation, like this word, it may be like there's different levels of hardship. There's
Oh,
different
absolutely.
levels
Yeah.
of grief. There's different level, all this stuff. So, like I was mentioning with my neighbor who brought over muffins.
Mhm.
This was a slight tribulation.
Mm.
And the muffins were just a way to comfort
Hmm.
in the moment. So, I mean,
Without words, just the muffins.
it's just action.
I love it.
It was just love and action.
So sweet.
So how do we comfort those that are in the middle of some type of tribulation? And like you said, you've learned to you're a talker, but you've learned to just sit and be still.
I have this friend who doesn't live here anymore, but I remember shortly after our son passed, she said, I used to work with her, and she said, "Hey, if you ever, need help with Lucas and, need us to watch him or, whatever it is, just let us know." I think it was like 2 days later, and something happened, I forgot what it was, and I needed someone to watch him or pick him up from school or something. And guess who I thought of? Her. Now I know that, she may not have been able to because that could happen, right? Just, children of her own but she was able to, so I was so grateful for that. So I think sometimes not asking people what they need, because sometimes at that moment when you're grieving, you don't know what you need. But sometimes just even making an offer, "Hey, I don't, I know that you have a lot on your plate right now. I'm not sure what you need, but if you ever need like me just to cook some food, or if they have kids, watch the kids for you, and maybe name one other thing. Hey, I'm here, or anything else that you might think that you need, you're not a burden. Reach out." And just presenting it to them that way, then that like lifts the burden that if something actually happens, then they could be like, "Oh, Eva said," and then they'll call you. Or if you just need to talk, I'm here. It doesn't have to be anything big and miraculous. We think we have to do these big things, and people just appreciate just even the small things because the small things add up and they become big, right? So, um, so yeah, so comforting those that are hurting is those are some ways to kind of do that this season. For those that know that someone that lost somebody or is going through something, that those are some ways that you can reach out to them. And talking about Thanksgiving, that will, help them be thankful for you for reaching out at that moment of time of need. Um, so, the topic is called Thanksgiving Chicken Soup for the Soul because I thought of that book. And I thought, how does Thanksgiving transform the soul? So there's like spiritual aspect or spiritual impact and mental health connection. So under the spiritual impact, it builds faith and trust in God. So I mean, this is a Christian podcast, but if you're not a Christian, then build your faith and trust. If whatever that belief system is that you have, and then cultivates humility and dependence on God. So I think just because you kind of said that in the beginning about um, the opposite, because I asked you what the opposite of Thanksgiving is, and you said entitlement. Well, it says cultivates humility. So humility is the opposite of being entitled, because when you're entitled, you feel like you're owed something, right? But someone who's humble doesn't feel like they're owed anything, right? They're just humble, and you depending on God and His provision for your life. Um, and then the mental health aspect of it, gratitude. Well, we said that reduces stress by focusing on blessings, and that encourages community and connection when expressed outwardly. So this is what like this podcast is about, right? Community, connection, um, a common thread. So the common thread in Thanksgiving, we all have gone through something, some type of level of grief, whatever that is, some more, some less, but we've all gone through something, right? So it's not a it's a human experience, right? It's not a Christian experience. When you go through suffering, it's like we're all on the same level as far as we go through stuff, right? And if we can, be, you know, open about those things, like we've shared before, obviously don't hang your dirty laundry for everybody, right? Because you need to have like one or two, maybe three people that you can trust with that kind of stuff. But even those two or three people that you can trust, I think it's helpful. So, but
In talking about mental health and Thanksgiving, I'm reading here. It says that regular practicing of gratitude can strengthen neural pathways associated with happiness and well-being.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a benefit for us to try to shift our thinking. And when we do get in those pathways that are very negative and where we can easily become bitter or mad or angry, and rightfully so. A lot of times it's very justified. The feelings we're having. So yes, justified, and we can stay there. But if we will just try to get out our book and our piece of paper and just try to figure out if there's just like one thing, then maybe that will help your mental outlook, your well-being, your state of mind, whatever you might say for that. Like, I understand the moments aren't going to be pure joy, pure happiness all the time, but if we can perhaps just shift.
Yeah, absolutely. So, supporting verses, a supporting verse for that is Hebrews 13:15 says, offer a sacrifice of praise continually. So I don't know what that looks like for you. You would know that. But, some I don't I like I said, sometimes, we all have hard days. Some days are just like there's just a lot. You feel overwhelmed. And you're like, I don't know what I'm thankful for today, but I try, like I said, I try every day to do that as much as I can. And it definitely does lift my spirits when I do. So, well, we have about 4-ish minutes left. Eva, I wanted to focus on the practical application, like, so some daily practices that we can do. What are some things that you do? I mean, I have some here that I wrote down, but what are some things you can do or that you do?
To practice Thanksgiving?
Yeah, like some practical things that people can use, those that are watching.
One thing that I like to have for my kids and at our family table is I have this jar of Bible verses,
Okay.
and it's a good conversation starter, but it's also kind of like what you said when you ask your son to name 3 things. But instead, this is just a conversation starter and Bible verses in the middle of the table.
Mhm.
They're not all Thanksgiving related, but it can bring conversation and the reason why I say Thanksgiving, because I remember my grandma used to have a little box. It was actually a little plastic loaf of bread,
Mm.
but it had these little Bible verse cards that would kind of pull up out of it.
Mm. Oh, that's
So I don't
cool.
know if you ever have seen one of those.
I have. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
So just so that you're engaging and around this time of year, you can also have a jar in the middle of your table where it's nice. You can keep this year after year where you can write something down and put it into the jar. So
Okay.
that later, when you're feeling ungrateful or you're feeling mopey, you can pull something out and remember, oh yeah, that happened and I'm grateful for that. Just like the book that I was telling you that I
Right.
like to.
Yeah, like a little journal. Well, that was actually one of the things on here. Gratitude journal, write 3 blessings daily. I don't do that. I mean, like I said, I just do it like in my head or I'll say it outwardly, with my son when we have worship as a family. But, you could do that too. Sometimes it's nice to have a visual because it kind of helps you. The point of journals is it helps you go back. Like, let's say you start writing a journal today, and then a year from now, you go see, like, oh, let me go back to like a year ago. And then you'll see your progress. Like, oh, I don't do that anymore. Or I don't feel that way anymore, or maybe I do. Well, maybe I need to like reflect on how to make things different or pray that, give that to God and however use it as a reflective devotional moment. Um
Another thing is, I love thank you cards. I love
oh yeah.
it feels good. I know it feels good when you receive a card and somebody acknowledges that, hey, thank you. This really lightened up my day or whatever. If we can remember people in that way too, I believe all of us like to get a well thought out, handwritten thank you note.
Right.
I think it just helps community. It helps friendships.
Yeah.
And it's simple. It's a simple thing that we can do. We can buy these, again, Trader Joe's, you need to just sponsor us. They have wonderful blank cards for 99 cents. So I like to, as I'm leaving, they actually have them right at the checkout too. I like to grab a couple of cards and keep a collection.
Okay. I like giving thank you cards too. I like doing that. It's nice to show people that you're grateful for whatever their presence, what they did. So just one more thing, and then we're gonna just prayer of Thanksgiving before meals is also something that we can do when you're gonna have dinner or lunch or whatever. I think that's another way to give thanks, a simple way. So, well, Thanksgiving is only 8 days away, so we hope that you have a good Thanksgiving and finding something to be grateful for. And we'll see you next week. There's our music, and like we always end our podcast, don't give up. Hold on to Jesus.
Keep looking up.
See you next time.
And share this episode.
Yes, please share. Thank you for joining us.
This is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your